Hello, everybody. Were you gonna say something, Jamada?
No. No, it's because it was before we came on. It was.
I didn't hear what you were saying.
No, it's fine.
I don't know what. I was putting my headset back on because.
Sorry.
Do you know what? The saga continues because I got someone water during the break,
Okay.
and he's complaining that the cup tastes like coffee.
Somebody doesn't know how to rinse a lid.
I had like a
That's
minute.
Not
right?
my fault.
Jamada, we go into like a 2-minute break, and Jamada's like, "Oh, Will, can you get me some water, please?" I don't know why, and I was like, "Okay, yeah. What are you gonna do?" And he was like, "Nothing." I don't know what to say, honestly. Goodness me. But second game of the day, we've got Lightside into AaB. AaB down at the bottom solo, but have the opportunity to tie up guaranteed at the end of the day London United if they could take a win here. However, Lightside rocking a new look bot lane.
Full bot lane?
No, just the
Just
Marth.
the AD. Okay.
Sena is
Of course. Yeah, Sena out. Yeah, I remember.
which was an interesting decision, it must be said. It was something that caught me a little bit off guard, because the team
Admittedly.
itself is doing okay.
Yeah.
As of late, top half of the table looking side. Obviously, not having the recent performances that maybe we'd have hoped, maybe spurred the change.
Yeah, it's an interesting topic, I think, especially when you talk about AD carries, because in most team setups, AD carries don't necessarily have the biggest voice in the world.
Yes.
Traditionally, especially when it comes to, calling sort of, I don't like to use the blanket term macro very frequently, but in-game, if you talk about in-game leaders, typically that's not the AD carry.
Yes.
So to see Sena subbed out, I'm not going to say a curious decision, but definitely you would expect other roles to be substituted out.
If that was the reason why the changes were being made,
exactly.
Right?
So
with Lightside being a very good macro team,
perhaps they just needed something different out of the AD carry role.
well, I mean, of course, we've always talked about the champions being a little bit off kilter with the current meta necessarily, but definitely a player who was doing top half of NLC well.
100%.
So we wish her good luck in whatever endeavors are next this season and moving forward. But we've got Sadie now, who we also wish good luck in this game. It's a good one to come in if you're a new player into AaB who aren't necessarily firing on.
Well,
I was going to say any cylinders, really, unfortunately for them. That being said, they've got some talent across the board, which can cause issues.
Yeah.
I also really appreciate these two teams being quite slow on the pick and ban so we can set up our narrative first before we actually have to discuss things. So Zinzao, Akshan, Zeri, Bard, and Gwen all taken off the table, which is always good. There's been a couple of games. Svene, of course, the key perpetrator in this league of the Akshan top, which is not family-friendly viewing.
No.
When it was up against, I can't remember who he was up against, but it was vehemently unpleasant to watch. It was against the Orn or something, it was just not playable. But the are also going to be taken off the table. So Jinx, B1.
Jinx.
I mean, that's setting up for the Aphelios or the Jinx, because
Sure.
Thresh obviously works very well with both. And now it's on Lightside to decide if they want to give their new marks
So
the most powerful champion in the game, asterisk. Probably.
No, not probably. I think Jinx is the strongest champion on the patch. You auto shove with.
Stronger than Zeri?
Yeah. I'd say so. Yeah.
Really?
Pretty confidently. I think if you asked most teams what champion they would rather pick, it would probably be Jinx over Zeri. And there's loads of reasons for it. I think so, yeah. I think
Jamada, we can put our money where our mouth is here. We've got interviews with all the teams.
Sure.
So hopefully we'll be able to track to a couple of marks.
See, I think the issue is, even though, Scrim settings are typically a little bit different,
Yes.
whilst Zeri is typically permaban, that's what plays into the point of no one typically bans Jinx and Aphelios at the same time. These teams
So
are going to
you
be
always
way
get
more one. You always have.
Or there's always
practicing
one on
or
the
the
rift,
other.
whether you get it, because if you ban the Aphelios, then you pick the
So you always have the ability to actually practice these picks. So as we go through the draw, I'm going to continue talking about this, to be honest with you, because I'm not passionate about it, but I will say Jinx has potentially the highest base HP out of any AD carry that's supposed to lane in the bottom lane.
I like the modifier there.
I would need a fact check because champions like Lucian, perhaps. I actually think she outstats Lucian in the flat HP department. Whilst having, the rockets to auto shove lanes, there's not really too much inside of a lane, outside of just getting on top of her and murdering her, which is kind of a condition to what champions you're actually laning with. So I think with that in mind, AaB respond about as you'd expect.
Yes.
with the Jarvan and with the Aphelios, and now I suspect that Lightside will bring in some kind of engage tool of their own to
I
follow up with the
mean-
Hecarim and lane with this Jinx.
There's also the Lulu that is
You could
available,
also
which
do that.
isn't the engage tool, but it makes the engage
Yeah.
much nicer from the Hecarim.
I think the issue is because you're looking at the Jarvan, locking in Lulu plus Jinx against Jarvan, bit of a risk. In
What
the
if we-
isolated
what if
2v2,
Color losses, bit of enchanter, bit of engage, go for a card.
I mean, I think Rakan is the best support in the game, with the exception of maybe Threat.
And I think that Wicked is the best coach in the league.
And I also think Touch might be our best Rakan. I'm not sure if there are any other super experienced Rakan players in the league off the top of my head, which might just
Does
Expo-
Blue play Rakan?
yes. But when I think of Blue, I think more fresh.
I think of
In
Nora is
meta
what I
or
think
not.
of.
Fair. Well, your favorite champion in the game has been removed away, and I think that does make a fair amount of sense. A lot of dive, Veigar very strong into Rakan in particular, does stifle a lot of the engage options that you can have. Put him in the baby cage, he does become a baby. And Vel'Koz also removed away from Blue Ben. Seen it a couple of times now. Definitely very potent.
So I did one
tool.
yesterday as well, actually.
Yeah, very potent tool. He's capable of doing. That was Era, I believe. on
It
Dream.
was, and it went.
It went quite well. That
I remember those of Velcro.
brilliant attention span, Will.
And then it was like, I've forgotten how that game went. But with the Ari off the table as well, Twisted Fate gone too, so a lot of the mid lane has been removed. Rise, however,
Yeah.
makes his way in.
Yeah, the thing is, a lot of the meta picks didn't really get touched too much. So if we're staying towards the very
cool Ari and Twisted Fate both.
sure, but if we're thinking about the likes of Orianna, if we're thinking
Yes.
about the likes of Victor, we're thinking along the lines of Syndra, all very fine champions into Rise, they're all available. Even another artillery mage like Xerath does fairly well into Rise. I do worry about some of the engage tools that Lightside have. So going for this Xerath, typically in the competitive setting, this is more of a punishment pick, right?
Yes.
You don't see too much engage. Okay, I'm going to go Xerath. I outrange the enemy mid laner. The enemy team doesn't have reliable ways of getting on top of me. Right now, Lightside do have reliable ways of getting on top of Xerath. So we'll see how AaB actually round out this draft. And it will be of the set which can deal with some of the reliable ways that a Lightside can get on top of the Xerath. So I like the round out here from from AaB rather. They have engaged. They have re-engaged via the set. If Lightside do try and get on top of them, I think now for Lightside, looking at that top lane option, you can round out a front line, you can round out a side lane, you can really do anything, and Gnar kind of does.
He does both, really.
Yeah, jack of all trades, best of both worlds, I think, in this kind of
Yeah.
situation. You want a little bit of follow-up, Mega Gnar can do that for you. You want some side lane that can survive the set lane,
Whole
Gnar
breaker.
can do that for you. Whole breaker as well. So Lightside rounding that one out, and it should actually give them top side priority too to work with. So looking at the Lightside draft, I'm starting to talk about some of the early game shenanigans that I expect really to come through. I think top to bottom, Lightside do have sort of that wave 1 through maybe 4 or 5 priority movement. Though on the bottom side, maybe because touch on the melee champion against Tun on the Thresh, maybe there's room for movement there from AaB. But aside from that, I think Lightside full priority. I'm looking towards Bobass and saying, how are you going to attack these lanes with some of the setup that you do have available in just about every lane? Are you going to allow Victor to just farm up? Are you going to try and interrupt his farming patterns like we saw from Noodle yesterday, doing an interesting set of pathings, let's just say.
I mean, I never want to see that pathing again in my life.
Unless it's Noodle.
No.
Or MC on when he's on Nidalee, if he ever gets it.
It's one of those things where like you're awake at 4 a.m, you tune into like the opening game of LPL where it's like 17th versus 18th. And it's one of those things where you see that play and then Orcs falls silent. Because he is in shock of what he has seen. You know, you get me, right? You understand, like, that's the energy of that play. Basically.
Yeah, but it worked, didn't it?
It's like the falling silent Orcs and someone like Ashin just being like, well, that happened, but in an Irish accent. I won't do that. There's no shot that goes well for me. But
I think it could.
I don't think it would. But I'm just kind of I like what's been built by Lightside. I'll give it up. There's a couple of areas where obviously this is the perfect draft. And I know that you're you like some bits of AaB's draft, and some bits of it are a little bit less certain. Which are you preferring, Jamada?
I mean, at the end of the day, I think Lightside's fairly easy to pilot. I think whenever you have the Jinx is like that. But at the same time, you can probably say the same thing about AaB. I think going back to the obvious question, which one do I prefer, you know, left or right? I'll lean on right simply because I think when it comes to the early game, having that level of priority, it does make it very easy to pilot from the get-go as opposed to what I'm expecting from AaB's lanes.
Yes.
Though, of course, things can naturally change. Sometimes players don't necessarily play out lanes to the full potential, as I actually think 5P has war walking, which is something I don't see too frequently.
Okay, so what does that say about what the Rise wants to do? Because, of course...
He might want to just constantly roam to the side lanes, of course, with war walking.
Well, we know Xerath's going to be able to not necessarily roam to side lanes, but impact side lanes by just moving halfway down river. Could this be a case of Rise saying, I want to match that to some extent? Because obviously the Xerath, when he's going bot to get that ultimate off, he's pretty vulnerable.
Yeah, sure, he can be. I think in general, it's going to be about 5P trying to find priority after level 5, and that's where things can get difficult, because as Rise, in most lanes, you can just get priority because you can expend your mana bar for it, but that's the cost of doing that, typically. Maybe you trade a little bit of HP, I think, into, you know, the range of Bluebend, or specifically, obviously, a Xerath. You might have to do that a little more. But typically, Bluebend will clean up the wave quite quickly, and then, you know, only has to roam maybe the length of what a TF would have to teleport to a side lane for. At best, as mid lane, 5P has to blow his flash. Bobass pays a visit level 2. Actually caught, which we didn't actually talk about. Bobass started on the top side of Zvictor, so Zvictor has no red, no raptors to walk into. And it looks like defensive vision will be placed by AaB. And on the bottom side, as theorized, because of the range disadvantage, priority does actually end up going in Ribery Anton's favor. So I'm not going to see touch potentially roam up to the mid lane early on, like we did see last game from that Jinx lane. Again, typically Aphelios does lose out on priority on the first couple of waves to Jinx. It's all about the
jungle.
support.
I think something a bit spicy is going on in there, as Victor actually gonna be going in, securing the objective. Boas needs to be careful, looking for a way out, does have flash. Close to going down and losing the red that he'd already gained. Managing to escape. Victor makes the invade work and goes right back in for the Gromp.
Yeah, he's gone back for the Gromp. Won't find the Wolves, but I think gonna be happy with it nonetheless. And if you think about it like this, as touch, he's a death sentence there, and of course the Calibrum too. Gets the Gromp. Gonna go back over to the Scuttle, pick that one up. And just because of the way that his camps are now gonna respawn, I think if he goes to his Krugs, his Raptors will be back up. So this farming path now isn't actually too horrible for Zvictor. At the end of the day, it's Bobass that's got the slightly more uneven camp respawn timer now. We'll see exactly what Zvictor on the Hecarim wants to do, though, as you'll see very shortly. Should be about 4:15, give or take. Those Raptors on the top side spawn. And after Krugs, Victor should just have a top to bottom side clear for relatively free. 4:20 it looks like. For that Raptor spawn. And yeah, Svene keeping priority on the top side, as you'd expect in the not set matchup. And across the board, very quiet lanes. It's more about kind of tracking these junglers and seeing what they're doing. Anything else.
The bot side touch is going to just dive away. Something to note that Svene is having a good time in top side, just keeping Gunkers low and under tower. Almost getting a plate as it is, with the Demolish being available for him. Could be able to secure that one. The jungle and the mid lane are coming up from a light side as well, so trying to keep Gunkers down and actually going to be looking to secure the first blood up there as well. Teleport coming on through. They're going to try and assist though, and Lightside just like, okay, we're going to burn Bluebend's teleport. That's all we really need to do. And I do like that kind of play from Lightside, saying, situation has changed. We've got a resource. Let's leave.
Yeah, I think decent amount of discipline to back off that. definitely, I feel like they had the room to execute it, but why even chance it? Why risk it? Yeah. And they do just walk away. Touch. Not going to eat the death sentence. Nice attempt from Tun, a mind game between the two supports there. Touch slips away for free. Sadi on the bottom side. Only down 5 CS, but to be expected if you're being shoved in like this quite consistently now. bobass looking at 5p. No flash on the rise, remember. Going in now. Nothing will come of it. As they kind of just walk away from each other, unfortunately.
Which, you know, that's fine. We don't need action.
No.
We're not allowed action. It was banned this game. Because the name of the champ.
Get out. Leave.
I would, but like it'll be a lot for me to take off my
Yeah.
Just as a general reminder, and this is
Yes.
I've got a soundboard next to me.
Oh yeah.
I can just mute you whenever I want.
Can I call HR? Is this like a
I think HR might have gone home. Jamada. I was going to say, just as Ashley, we're going to have Zvictor coming on through, gets flayed away from the play, but Lightside seeming like they want to make this play. They're going to come through with the Realm Warp, getting on. But damage coming down as big First Blood goes over to the Zera. Fatty P will get cut down as bobass moving forward, Touch stumbling into the alcove, but will get caught out by Ribery on the way out. Not going to be able to stun, but the flag drag is good. The knock-up is great, and the kill is excellent. But now Zadie's trying to get the kill down in return, but won't be able to do so, because Blueburns made the second part of his journey down. Disaster for Lightside.
Yeah, Lightside lose out massively, and this all because they want to commit for that initial kill with the Realm Warp, and it sets up for Zvictor to just get absolutely one-shot out of the Realm Warp. Great response from AaB on that bottom side play, and now top side. Lundqvist doing the right thing, backing away. Sveni trying to bait him in towards the wall before that Mega Gnar transformation. 1v1 that we could definitely see actually happen if either one of these top laners wants to commit. Mega Gnar ultimate actually on the cooldown at the moment.
Sveni needs to be careful, going to go mini, but that will allow him to get decent return damage. And we're going to be jumping back to see exactly what happened in this fight, because Lightside were the ones who really forced this play.
Yeah, exactly, and it's Tun that they're committing for initially. Realm Warp comes in, but they just set themselves up underneath the tower. bobass, they have information he's there, and it's just a two-man flag and drag ultimate from Zera from downtown. And the burst damage is simply just there on 5p as well, who, of course, caster of that Realm Warp, and Gravitum there to follow up on the bobass knock-up. And whilst, yes, of course, Blueburn made the roam down here, the issue is, yeah, Vision as highlighted by the replay here. No ward in this middle brush. Allows for bobass to walk away for free.
And honestly, AaB can turn that into a dragon. It's a cloud, which means that whatever we manage to get as our soul dragon, not going to be Infernal either, because that's going to be our second spawn, is likely to be a little bit more impactful. So, not the start that Lightside will have wanted. Not a huge disaster as on the top side. They're looking to take down this Rift Herald, which they can use to stabilize that gold lead that they have lost. And again, it's not huge, only about 1,200. Not even a BF sword amongst friends in this one so far. But does that initial play, does this kind of situation that we find ourselves in with Rift Herald having just been secured change your feelings about the game state?
Not right now. I think the fact that Lightside pick up the Herald after the fact might make up for it, of course. You know, base value of a Herald, typically around 2 plates, 360 gold, 320 gold, sorry. Maths is apparently hard. But a lot of the time it feels like, more often than not, you just see a Herald take a whole tower these days, wherever it gets dropped. But at the moment, if you take a look at the plate health of these towers on the AaB side, they're all set at 5. So it's going to be quite difficult because AaB, especially on the bottom side, they've had pretty much full priority. In the mid lane, it's been, you know, back and forth. On the top side, Lightside have had priority, but not, you know, any free time for any hit on these towers. I expect this Herald isn't going to be as high value as you'd maybe expect. Unless Lundqvist gets chunked out yet again, whilst Zvictor is on this top side to actually capitalize with a Herald, if Lundqvist can survive the 1v1.
Which so far, Lundqvist has been able to survive the 1v1. It's keeping up in farm, and something that has been a continual question about AaB is this top side. And this time around, at least, yes, he's been shoved in, and it hasn't been the most pleasant game for him. The set is surviving and keeping up in farm, keeping up where it matters in terms of experience as well, and could be a very, very important asset to the team moving forward. That being said, AaB will be looking towards this mid lane right now, realistically. You've got 2 kills on the Zayaf, the other 2 are on the jungler. Question for me really is, where do AaB want to keep the pressure? Where do they want to be making plays? Or is it even their job to be making these plays?
They definitely could. I think this Hex Flash over the wall signals that they really want this bottom side play. Touch going to get hooked in.
Touch going to get caught out. The flay isn't going to come through. There it is. But it's going to be able to jump away to Sadie. And Ton now in a lot of trouble. The Realm Warp's going to be used once again, this time to a much more conservative location. Ton needs to be careful. A nice ultimate coming on through from Victor, but the barrage is down. 2 kills this time around for Lightside as they're going towards the Ephemerals, who doesn't really have a route away. Bluebird is there doing a decent amount of damage. Doesn't land the stun onto anyone, though. So can't turn this one into a cleanup. In the top side, Svene punched in the back of the head by Gunkus. That's 2 for 1 across the map.
Not something you would expect, especially from the top side. Svene, typically a relatively sound laner, regardless of what the matchup is. Finding himself losing that 1v1 and on the bottom side. I think he put it the right way. A much more conservative Realm Warp this time around. Not so aggressive. Gets Lightside in the position they need to be to pick up a couple more kills. Herald threatened in the mid lane. Only 60 seconds left and it will be popped, I think. Recognizing they might not have another good opportunity to put this one down and find value. Gonna try their best to execute it, but will still go through plates. No animation, but definitely went over to Victor.
We're gonna have another look at this one because this is important because we saw this very, very similar play earlier that went all the way of AaB. But however, this time it was AaB who pulled the trigger.
Yeah, AaB this time around, the cohesion's not quite there. And the overstep isn't there, crucially, from Lightside to actually punish and turn this fight around. And unfortunately, it ends up being just one after another that ends up dropping just because of the positioning. Not particularly great in the alcove. And yeah, Svene pushing his luck, dropping out of mini, not able to actually trade any longer. No more increased stats, no more Mega Knight ultimate. You have to remember, when you are mini, you are effectively a champion with 3 spells.
Yeah.
Until you transform again. Gunkus taking full advantage of that, recognizing that Svene was about to time out, and goes for the all-in at the correct time.
Which is great to see from AaB because, yeah, the bot lane play didn't look so hot, but they managed to gain themselves something back, and gold has about evened up with that Rift Herald play. Topside Gunkus doesn't want to tower dive, and that's pretty wise, but gives some time for Bobas to sneak on through. And with Svene about to go mini, just throwing down that stun, and maybe moving forward, needs to be careful because he could get engaged on. If the hop is used aggressively, Bobas trying to stay away, but I don't know if he was caught out on vision, potentially. It doesn't look like it as Svene.
One misstep forward.
Yeah, you need to be careful, buddy. I don't know, caught up with a flag and drag. The hop isn't going to be used safely. Going to be caught in the Cataclysm. And again, Bluebird gets involved to secure the kill. If I was Gunkus, I'd be calling, why'd you do that? We had it covered. But it's always good to get kills and money on your Zareth, even if your tower mid isn't looking too healthy.
No, and that's going to make up for a little bit of it. Nazareth picking up some more gold. FATP doing the right thing, trying to chunk out this tower, trying to get it down. For the place drop, a lot going on here. So Gunkus, Bob Asta trying to get this final plate before the tower falls. Oh, just barely we're going to miss out on it. Whilst Lightside, they pick up that Inferno Dragon. Ocean Soul will be the forthcoming soul. And dragons that will be spawning up, and mid lane tower does drop. Definitely a big, we always talk about, or at least I always talk about, when there's champions, you know, like Zareth, these heavy wave clear mages, the value of taking that at mid tier 1, it becomes a, you know, it's a safe haven when it's up, as the likes of a Zareth. And taking that one down quite early, Lightside, it does mean that they might be able to push quite high up, catch these waves high in the mid lane, allow themselves just a couple extra seconds to make a rotation work for them, especially when you've got a Rise in the game who can, you know, realm warp you down from the mid lane to either side lane. So let's see how Lightside use this potential advantage. But right now, AaB, when you take a step back, they're actually up almost 1,000 gold. So obviously doing some things right. A lot of this gold likely to be forced into Bluebird. Actually, if we could get a look at the gold just briefly. While he doesn't necessarily have a big lead.
Ooh, touch. Gonna be taken away. Has to dive off to the Jinx once again. And now Lightside looking for the re-engage with Victor, who's running to and fro, gets onto Ribery. He's about damage with Realm Warp's going to be taken across the fight, but it doesn't matter because Aphelios is already dead, and you know what? So is Ton. Now going to dive on through. Bombas managed to get the assassination onto Touch. That was a little bit burnt, and Jarvan actually able to stumble away for the 2v1 exchange. Lightside turning their attention towards Rift Herald after that play. But again, this game kind of continuing off what we saw in the end of the last one, as we see a bit of punching to and fro in the bot side. The team that is expected to lose, and probably expected to lose quite handily if you look at this matchup on paper with how the team's been playing, maybe having a slightly better time of it at the moment.
Yeah, definitely so. I think definitely had some very strong showing so far in the opening 60 minutes here.
Just being used, and Sven needs to be careful because he's mini and not getting any angrier. Gunkus punches him through for another. Bobas flag and drags away, but Fatty P is there. Nice knockout from Touch. Now be a 2v1, 2v2 on Spluben floats in. But he hasn't got very much mana, so he needs to be careful for the stun. Will land it onto the Ricard. A tower is taken down off screen as Fatty P caught with the flay, dodges the death sentence, and dances away.
This is massive, though. I think for Lightside, regardless of what happens down on the bottom lane, they're going to be happy with this. Jinx is getting 2 towers, I believe. One is a tier 2. So Victor, I think give this solo to your Jinx. You don't need to share that gold, but they get the tower either way. Is he even going to get a third charge? It is.
It is.
The
That's
targeting.
Huge.
Yeah, Ribery not right-clicking. I think still had the sever him out.
That's all they do.
But had the sever him out and pressed the Q button. So it was targeting the nearest champion. Or the nearest damageable target. Yeah, thing. And yeah, that Herald even goes as far as getting a third charge off. Bit of a misstep there on a micro level from Ribery to get that one through for Lightside. So they're going to be quite happy, and maybe a bit of a discrepancy starts to build for these two AD carries here. We'll see. That was a lot of gold to give over to a Jinx who hadn't really been finding too many kills, too much CS. Only really, realistically at this stage of the game, you can call it even. But there you go. A little bit, at the very least, something tangible, almost 1,000 gold, cresting on it around 700, 800 is what the lead is for Sadie right now.
A notable gold lead.
Yeah.
Which is something that we couldn't say when we were just looking at how the two marks would have performed this game, because they've been quiet. Not bad.
Just quiet.
Just quiet. Just not really getting involved in the plays, grabbing assists where there's team fights, but not being the ones that the gold is funneled into. That has been, for both teams, the mid laners, actually. Blueben definitely having an exceptional stand-up performance on this Xerath, and Fatty P maybe seeming a little bit quieter. And of course, there was that Realm Warp, the first Realm Warp in the bot lane where we were both scratching our chins. But since then, nothing but positive from these two teams.
Yeah, no,
well, these two mid laners, there's been...
Yeah, the mid laners, yeah.
There's been some stuff about other players that hasn't been so positive in this game. Looking at you, supports. But, you know what?
Yeah.
It's been an entertaining game so far. AaB are putting up an exceptional fight, and now they're looking to make another play onto Touch. He's been caught in the Cataclysm, but Bombas not able to secure that one. And she's keeping the Cataclysm walls open, going to take the Lantern away, but Victor's coming in the other side. Bombas goes down. That was a misstep. Tun's going to follow, and Blueben dies for the sins as well. Madness from AaB jungler.
Yeah, absolute madness. And Lightside capitalize in an instant. Gunkus going to get Rune Prison, but of course, for those who don't know, Rune Prison has a travel time. It's not necessarily a cast time. And because of that, was able to flash in the exact moment the Rune Prison was cast. And gets away with it. So tier 2 will be the prize of Lightside for the capitalization and the punishment of AaB. Who's that mid lane tier 2? Especially when you had the likes of the Xerath in the game. Keeping those mid lane tier, towers up and available. It's a big deal, so taking those down, you no longer really feel the pressure of the Xerath being on the enemy team anymore. And Lightside can now, I feel, more aptly and more in their own time go and aggress into the jungle, set up vision, create pockets where it's complete darkness for AaB, and they can pick and choose their fights with Touch, with Victor, with Fatty P, warping rather into the backline. And things could start to feel a little bit suffocating for AaB if Lightside pilot this one out in a fashion where they don't really give AaB too many opportunities to set up base operations in their own jungle.
That being said, though, Lightside have given opportunities to AaB so far. in this game, which is worrying, not only for their general game state now, but for the season going forward. Because Lightside, it was a top 4 race. Lightside's less than stellar recent performances have opened up for a number of
Pandora's
teams.
box, really, when you look at the middle of the
Look
table.
at Rate, who
Yeah.
obviously Damon, in our interview from Monster Rugby, said were looking pretty scary at times.
Yeah.
Of course, you've got Lucent, who have found themselves back on form. When they can play, they can play. You've got Domino, who have found a resurgence in form, and you haven't never got any idea what they're going to pull out week on week. So a loss here for Lightside against an AaB side who are maybe getting a name for themselves as winning the games that they definitely shouldn't. Of course, I believe they were the team that took down, was it Natives? It was Natives, wasn't it? Thank you, Reed. Thank you, Mr. Historian. So, for me, as Gonkus is getting 3v1'd in the top side and needs to be a little bit careful, gets the hug, but puts out the shield, should go down here. Zadie, some nice kiting, and Svene secures the kill with the house. You oohed, Jamal.
Baron could be an option with Gunkus dead and no teleport and a 2 IM Jinx, but they decide against it. Is why the positioning of AaB, not suspect, but not in a position to actually defend. The pings come in now, but it's just
A little bit later than you necessarily want.
yeah. So now Bobas coming out of base, but he's a little lackadaisical with his approach. Now finally flag dragging towards it, and I think Lightside, they recognize they can maybe turn for this. So if they get chunked out, maybe a little bit of split decision from both teams. Really, it felt like AaB read the fact that the Baron could be going on quite late. Lightside, same thing, just on the opposite end of the coin, recognized that they could have been doing Baron a lot sooner.
Which is maybe the... I don't know. I don't know what to think about this game particularly. Because it's the first game we had, which was... The result was what we expected, but the performance from both sides I don't think was. This game, of course, Lightside coming in with a new marksman in the bot side. Haven't looked fixed. Right? The issues that we're seeing from this Lightside roster are probably similar issues to the one that we saw or had been seeing when they were looking a little bit weaker. Gunkus is burning, but should be able to stop, drop, and roll away. And I mean, it's only one game with this new roster. So it's not a case of saying the experiment has failed.
No.
But that being said, the symptoms do seem to still be there, whether they're still in recovery or whether this wasn't the cure that they needed. That'll be for a couple of weeks in the future,
exactly.
casters to decide.
Yep.
But for AaB, a couple of the areas that we questioned maybe going into this, I know people, we said Gunkus had not necessarily had the strongest split so far, has looked good on the set.
Yeah.
You look at Blueben, has looked exceptional. I think Blueben has been
I think Blueben
generally pretty good on this roster for this split, but as I always say, and this is the argument that I always get shouted at when we're in storyline meetings, your team's 2-8, how good can you really be playing?
It's tough to say things like this, right? When you look at, individual performances against team performances, because even though I feel like in recent weeks fallen off, take a look at a player like Muir, for example, in Div 1.
True.
Free Muir, by the way.
I was going to say, not in Div 1 anymore, but...
Well, yeah. But, before the substitution, you look at a player like Muir. Felt like he was playing okay.
Oh, the engage is coming on through. This time around, it's from Lightside. They want to jump in. Victor does just that and picks up the first kill of the fight. It's onto Aphelios. Gunkus is still standing tall, though, looking to get the engage. Boas can't find it, but gets knocked up. Both of them, in fact, do. Sveni moves forward. Sadie moves forward. AaB cannot find the re-engage with Death Sentence. Ton throws that one wide, but the Cataclysm comes on down to the Hecarim. Doesn't have the ultimate to get away. Can't charge out. Will go down. The cavalry's gone, and AaB needs to be careful. Sveni's massive. Not necessarily scoreline, just in physical size. And Lightside grabbing what they can. It's a 1-for-1 exchange.
Bobas.
Get a second. We'll be able to do so. As Bobas didn't need to be there. And, going down will lose out on the Dragon. Third of the game for Lightside. Fourth of the game in total. Setting themselves up for Seoul in a few minutes' time.
Yeah, I feel like they might have lost out on this Dragon anyway, but it just got... Oh, no! stolen away by Blue
What
Ben.
is it about us and Baron steals?
And Dragon steals and things, and they're like, I just don't know.
I despair. Of course, junglers Victor wasn't there because he was dead, so it's a good shout from Blueben. The first shot as well.
Yeah, it wasn't even. It was. That's the first shot is always the information shot. It's the. Oh no, there's vision in the pit unless that was placed post takedown.
We're gonna have a.
I guess we have a replay, so
Find out.
we'll know very shortly. It looks like that ward was there before this fight even kicked off. So, Blueben, you can see how much damage he can do to the squishy-ish member of the team, but the engage comes through. Ribery just gets run over. Some of the spells, or not, I think would have just been absolute victim there. Blueben forced quite far back. Fortunately, the landing was there to keep Blueben alive, and Victor doing what he could to ensure that the most fed member of AaB wasn't able to put out any damage. And Sadie, honestly, Cell's putting out a fair amount of damage on the Jinx, but not able to find any meaningful resets. And Borbas eventually rechecks into the pit. I mean, why would you?
There's no vision there.
You have vision.
You have vision
in
in
that
the
red
pit.
bush, and you have vision in the pit. So you know that that is one of the places they could very easily be staying in. And yeah, vision in the pit.
Oh.
Yeah, just very easy as you like. Luden's proc still there.
Can you do it again?
Can you do it again? That's a good question. Let's see. Ulm isn't up, so
No vision either.
yeah, a couple seconds left. No vision. Baron's gone. Too late.
Crime. Gonna be able to stop Victor's recall though, but he should be able to ride off into the sunset. But same can't be said for Sadie. He's gonna be caught up in the Cataclysm, but a lot of damage goes down. Borbas will fall as Lightside move back in. Re-engaged from Victor, returning to the fight. Helps pick up 2, 3, maybe more as Gunkers goes in, falls. The damage is pretty nice, but Lightside haven't lost anyone just yet. Chasing on, get the ace. It'll be Svene with that one. They've got Baron. Could this be it?
Yeah, I think they can end Baron buff. They've got a wave. All 5 members alive. It's a clean ace from Lightside, and a little more back and forth. Despite the gold lead that Lightside find themselves in. Leading team so far today, really not had the most amount of success in ending out particularly cleanly. I think Lightside definitely doing a better job of this particular game at the very least. 28 minutes almost on the clock. The death time is actually coming back up. They might have a shot here.
Borbas gets a really nice knock up. The second Nexus Tower will fall, but Lightside do not have health bar. Sadie moving away, gets the reset now, is excited, helps pick up a second. I think damage is just a little bit too much as Lightside was touch and go there for a moment, but they will pick up the win against AaB. 6 and 5. Positive scoreline coming out of day 11 of Division 2. AaB didn't look like a 2-8 team.
No, honestly, in that one they didn't. I think you can maybe credit some of the peculiar decisions made by Lightside at times, but I think, you know, credit where credit's due. AaB up a lot of fight there.
Yeah,
I think
absolutely.
particularly Blueben, but we've seen a lot out of Blueben. I want to see more of that out of, you know, the likes of Gunkers, which, to be fair, even saying that is a little bit harsh, found the solo kill in his own lane. So perhaps more of a team effort, co-edly. From a draft perspective, I think they had, you know, a lot of opportunity to try and make that one work, but unfortunately just caught out one too many times in awkward positions, not finding the fights that they needed, not allowing Blueben to get some, you know, preliminary poke in before these team fights really got kicked off. I think those are the key symptoms of why they ended up losing there, allowing Lightside to kind of just get quick engages on equal terms, which aren't even really equal when you're at a gold deficit from the AaB point of view. Lightside execute when necessary, despite that one very shaky realm warp in the early game.
Yeah, well, we're going to jump to a short break, but when we walk back in, we're going to be talking to both of these teams. So don't go anywhere. We'll see you in a couple of minutes.